Right, so we are live. Hi everyone. Ciao a tutti. Benvenuti.
Hello.
Ciao Matteo. How's it going?
Hello, everyone. Good,
Come
good. Thank you.
stai?
How are you?
Bene, grazie. I have a little bit of the fever, la febbre. So I'm a bit red, but all good. Yeah, good to go. So, ciao a tutti. Thank you for coming to our beginner's Italian lesson. And hello from Milan.
Hello from our house.
Yeah. So we're actually in the same house at the moment, but we're broadcasting from different rooms for technical reasons. So if I shout really loud, "Ciao Matteo," you can probably hear me.
Ciao, Katie.
Okay, so yeah, it's 6 o'clock here, so it's a bit dark and wintry as it is in the north of Italy at the end of January. But yeah, we're getting into summer soon, fingers crossed. So should we get started?
Right.
Ready?
Go on.
Okay, so as we go along, if you have any comments or questions, please ask us, because we like having interaction and we're happy to answer any questions, so you can write to us in the chat. So let's get started. So I'm just going to share my screen with everyone. Okay. So can you see my screen, Matteo?
Yes, perfectly. Okay. Right, now I start the presentation. Yeah.
So we've got Italian for beginners, lezione uno, which I'm sure you can guess means lesson 1.
Right, easy.
Yes, nice and easy. So what you'll learn today, you'll learn why Italian is easier than you think. Some important survival phrases that you can use to help you get around Italy without a phrase book when you go traveling. Some culture tips. So often we use words in a slightly different way in English and in Italian. So we'll be looking at the types of words that you can use in travel situations. And finally, we'll be looking at managing communication breakdowns and how to stop getting Englished. So, Matteo, do you know what I mean when I say about to stop getting Englished?
No, not exactly what you mean. I mean,
so this is something that I'm sure you've seen before. So this happens to me all the time as a native English speaker when I go traveling and I try and speak to the locals in the language. Everybody sees that I'm English and then they reply immediately in English. So,
all right, like you and my whole family.
Yeah. Exactly. So it makes it more difficult to learn a language. So we want to look at some ways that we can stop getting Englished all the time so that we can practice our Italian. Ciao a tutti. So I'm Katie. I'm a language teacher and a blogger over at Joy of Languages. I blog about language learning. And my first experience in Italy was in 2008. And I did a year abroad in a little town called Ferrara, which is close to Bologna in the northeast. And when I went home after I'd finished, I found I really missed being in Italy. So as soon as I finished my graduation, I decided to move here permanently in 2010. And then very shortly after, that's when I met Matteo.
I'm Matteo. Hello, everyone. And I'm a designer at joyoflanguages.com. I grew up in Naples, Italy, the known home of pizza. And I love going back to visit family. Yeah, really good. And I love to go back to visit family and pizza and food and the sea. Now I live together with Katie in our apartment, as you can see, in Milan.
Great. So let's get started with why Italian is easier than you think. So here we've got some Italian words. Can you guess what these words mean?
I guess so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we've got some are exactly the same as in the English, aren't they?
Yeah. For example, computer.
Yeah, good. But it's pronounced a little bit different, right? So often Italians take these words and then they keep them the same, but they pronounce them in the Italian way. So how would you pronounce that?
Computer.
Yeah.
It's just each letter pronounced.
Yeah, and you get the nice R at the end.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then the same with, we've got the word film, which of course means film, but how would you say it in Italian?
Film.
Great.
Just you can hear the M at the end more.
Yeah, and also the E is a bit longer as well, I think, so you get this like film.
Yeah.
And then stazione, what do you think that means in Italian, in English, sorry?
Let me guess. Station.
Yeah. Yeah, so here we've got
Right.
all of these words which are very similar to in English, and that makes them very easy to remember and use. So here we can see English cousins. So we've got 58% of English words come from Latin or Romance languages, so French and Italian. And that means that these are many words from English, so have these roots, and they're very similar to their Italian cousins. And in recent years, Italian has actually borrowed a lot of English words as well. So, for example, like we've got shopping is one of them,
right?
And we've got actually thousands of Italian words, or potentially hundreds and thousands of Italian words, have these English cousins that you can start using straight away when you start speaking Italian. So now let's move on to our survival phrases. So when you go to Italy, there are definitely some things that you want to be able to say. So we want to know how to order things in a coffee shop. We want to be able to be polite and say things like, excuse me. And last, but definitely not least, so possibly the most important one.
Really important.
Yeah, is where's the toilet? So how do you say excuse me in Italian?
It will be scusi.
Great, so we get here scusi. And then here we have how to say where's. So in Italian we get dove, which is where, which is, and then, but Italians actually put these together, so we don't get dove to say where is, but we say
Dov'è?
dov'è. Perfect.
Yes.
So we get these a little bit similar to in English how we say where's, so we put the two together. We do that in Italian as well with dov'è. Now saying the in Italian. So Italian words are divided into two groups. So we get masculine words and feminine words. Masculine words often end in o, not always, but often. And the word for the is il. And then feminine words often end in an a, not always, as we can see here, we've got la stazione, which ends in an i. But if the word is feminine, it will always use the word la for the. So here we get our masculine words. Matteo, do you want to help us and say these masculine words?
Right. So we have il parco, il supermercato, e il museo.
Great. And then the feminine words?
La banca.
Great.
E la stazione.
Great. So now we can combine these together and ask some questions when we're walking around in Italy. So let's imagine that we don't know where the station is. We want someone to point us in the right direction. How would we say, excuse me, where's the station?
Scusi, dov'è la stazione?
Great.
A bit more.
Perfect. And how would we say, excuse me, where's the bank in Italian?
Scusi, dov'è la banca?
Great. And what about the next one? So you guys at home as well, think about how would you say this? So how do you say, excuse me, where's the supermarket in Italian?
Scusi, dov'è il supermercato? That is always difficult because
Yeah.
I usually say supermarket because in Italy you usually use supermarket more, but it's right.
Ah, do you mean use like the word supermarket in Italian?
Yeah.
So say
Sometimes
vado.
we can use it. Yeah.
Ah, I'd never heard that before. So do you say like
Scusi,
vado?
dov'è il supermarket?
Ah, really?
Sometimes, yeah.
Okay, cool. So you can say supermarket or supermercato. Great. So what about the next one then? How would you say, excuse me, where's the park?
Scusi, dov'è il parco?
Awesome. And the last one then, how would you say, excuse me, where's the museum?
Scusi, dov'è il museo?
Awesome. And last but not least, as we said before, so this is definitely the most important one when you're traveling somewhere new. How do you say, excuse me, where's the toilet or bathroom?
Scusi, dov'è il bagno?
Perfect. So we've got, and here we have, so the word for toilet is bagno, which has an interesting pronunciation, doesn't it? So we've got can you say it again, Matteo?
Bagno, il bagno.
Great. So can you hear that like that N sound that we don't have in English? The way to make this sound is to flatten the whole of your tongue up to the roof of your mouth. So you get like if you smile, this helps because it moves your tongue up to the top of your mouth. And instead of making an N sound with the tip of your tongue behind your teeth, try and flatten your tongue right up against the roof of your mouth. So you get ñ, ñ, bagno. So can you say that for us again, Matteo, so we can hear?
Of course. Bagno.
Great. So we've got, excuse me, where's the toilet? How do you say that? Scusi, dov'è il bagno?
Right. Scusi, dov'è il bagno?
Right. Now moving on to something very important, ordering coffee. So we've got some of these phrases, important phrases in Italian for ordering coffee. And on the right side, we've got the English translations. So if you're watching, take a moment to look at these Italian words on the left and their English translations on the right and try and match them.
I'm trying, eh? I'm trying.
Yeah.
We'll see if I get all right.
It's tricky.
Yeah.
Have you got it, more or less?
Yeah, maybe.
Yeah.
Let's see.
You're so good at Italian, Matteo.
Yeah. It's a gift.
So here we've got
Yes.
our translation.
I mean, yeah. I did it.
You did it, yeah? Did you get it right?
Almost everyone. Yeah.
Win. Yes. So we have 2 coffees. How do you say that, Matteo?
2 caffè.
Great. And then we get please.
Per favore.
Thank you.
Grazie.
You're welcome.
Prego.
And how much? So we have 2 different options for how much.
Yeah, we usually use these 2 in 2 different moments. I mean, quant'è? We usually use it when is a situation that is not formal, or when you go in a shop that you usually go into it. So you know the people inside, and you'd say quant'è.
Okay.
But when you use, like, when you are in a more formal moment, you can use quanto costa, just because it's without letter together. It's just clear and formal. Quanto costa.
Okay, great. So let's look a bit closer then at these 2 different ways to say how much is it. So we've got the first one, which is quante. We make this with the word quanto, which means how much, and è. So it's a little bit similar to when we saw dov'è, where is, earlier. We delete the o from quanto, so we get quant. And then after we add the è, so it is. And we put them together, so we get quant'è. How do you pronounce it, Matteo?
Quant'è?
Perfect. Then let's look at quanto costa, which is how much does it cost. We get quanto, which means how much, and costa, which means cost. So together we get...
Quanto costa?
Brilliant. So let's do a mini quiz. So, woohoo! Are you ready?
Right.
Do you know the answers?
Ready. Maybe.
Okay. So how do you say 2 coffees? At home, try and remember back. How do we say 2 coffees?
This is 2 caffè.
Great. And how do we say how much is it?
Quanto costa?
And
O quant'è?
And how do we say please? Can you remember?
Per favore?
And thank you?
Grazie?
Great. And so this is grazie. Of course, everybody knows how to say thank you in Italian. So we say grazie. But there's something that is sometimes a little bit different about the pronunciation compared to how we'd expect, which we'll look at in a bit more detail in a moment. Then finally, we get you're welcome. So how do you say you're welcome in Italian?
Prego.
Awesome. Right, so now let's move on to our culture tips. So Italy is a coffee culture, so that seems like a great place to start with our culture tips. If you order un caffè in Italy, you'll get it exactly as the Italians drink it. So that is a short, strong shot of espresso.
Which really short.
Yeah, it's a bit like, oh, and the Italians drink it really quickly as well, don't they? So it's a bit like, it almost feels like in a club, like a group of teenagers in a club, like everyone getting shots and then like going 1, 2, 3, go, downing the espresso shot.
Exactly. It's exactly the same. And sometimes in Naples, because we have a huge culture about coffee, the cup are always really hot.
Okay, is that to keep the espresso even hotter?
Yeah, so they keep it in boiling water, then they pull them out and put the coffee in. So it's really hot. So you have to manage it carefully, otherwise you...
Yeah, I don't know how you guys drink it so quickly, actually. I always burn my mouth.
It's really hot, so you just have the time to drink it.
Yeah.
And leave the cup.
Okay, so if you want to try an espresso, I would highly recommend it. Take a bit of getting used to it first, but they're really nice. But if you want a long coffee, how we normally drink it in the UK or in the US, with the water in a bigger cup, you should ask for un caffè americano. Next, let's look at our next culture tip. So saying please and thank you. So one thing that's interesting is that Italians don't say please as much as in English. So you'll often hear un caffè grazie, or even just un caffè. So you don't very often hear un caffè per favore. You hear it, but not as often as in English, whereas we'd say please all the time. And
yeah, it's just a matter of staring at people. You enter in the coffee, stare at the barman, he stares at you, and you say a coffee, and you say okay.
Yeah,
It's easy.
Which doesn't feel very polite to me.
Yeah, no, it's all right. It's all right. You can definitely do it.
Yeah, and I've noticed definitely even when Italians are making an effort to be polite, they'll tend to say grazie. rather than per favore.
Yep.
And one interesting thing is that they also use grazie to answer questions. So, for example, if somebody asks you a question, do you want a coffee? So, vuoi un caffè? The answer would be sì, grazie, not sì, per favore, which would be yes, please, as we would say in English. And then,
and this is why Italians says yes, thank you sometimes, because they translate our grazie.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that before actually, but I think I've heard that quite a lot. People, Italians saying yes, thank you. Which I mean, we can say that in English as well, but we would say yes, please probably more often, I think.
Yeah, I think it would be strange, not strange, but more like foreign English if you say yes, thank you. I guess.
I think you can still say it. It's maybe maybe some of the people watching can help us out whether you'd say that or not. But certainly, so in Italian, you wouldn't say sì per favore. You would say sì grazie.
Yes.
And then moving on to our culture, it's not the last one, but we've got the culture tip, you're welcome, which is really important because the word prego doesn't just mean you're welcome. It has so many different meanings in Italian. And when you're first starting to learn Italian, it can be a bit frustrating because you hear people saying all the time, prego, 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 and you just have no idea what the word means. But that's because it has so many different translations in English. So it can mean you're welcome, which is a reply to thank you. So for example, if somebody says grazie, you say prego, as we looked at before. Then come this way. So for example, if you're going to a restaurant and the waiter is showing you to your table, he'll say prego, which is like, come this way with me. Similarly, it can also mean after you. So if someone opens a door for you or lets you go first in a queue, they'll often say prego, and you can do that too. It also works with can I help you? If you go into a shop, often shopkeepers will say prego, like as a question to say, how can I help? It also means help yourself. So when somebody is offering you food or drink, a glass or a plate of something, they might say prego, which means like go for it, help yourself. It also means certainly. So if somebody asks you if they can do something, so when you're giving permission, for example, like, can I take this chair? You can say prego, which is like certainly, go for it. And the last one is pardon. So if you didn't hear what someone said, you can say prego, and then they'll repeat what they said. Another important culture tip is when you are moving past people in Italy, or more specifically, when you would like to ask people politely to move out of the way. So in English, we would say, excuse me, when we want to do that. But Italians don't say scusi, they say permesso, which means permission.
I guess that was something really difficult for you at the beginning in Italy.
Yeah, that still happens to me now every now and then when I forget. I'll be on the tube and I'll be behind a big crowd of people going, scusi, 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 and then no one moves. And then all of a sudden I'll remember, and then I go, permesso. And then it's like this crowd of people just part suddenly and then let me through. So that's a really good one to know when you're traveling in Italy. And the last one we have is bumping into people or dropping something. So I like to call it the quick sorry. So for example, in English, if you bump into someone, you go, sorry. Italians don't say sorry, they say excuse me. So they say scusi if you bump into someone. And now coming back to our word grazie that we discussed earlier. So we've got our common mistake alert. Often when people start learning Italian at first, people will pronounce this word as grazie. I know I did when I first started learning Italian. But it's important to remember when you're reading an Italian word that Italians pronounce every sound. So here, if you see two vowels, then that means that you have to pronounce two vowel sounds. So how would you pronounce it, Matteo?
Grazie.
Good, so you get that really nice ie at the end. So not grazie, but grazie.
Yes, grazie.
And finally, but possibly most importantly, now we're going to learn how to manage communication breakdowns. Because often when you go to Italy and you want to practice your Italians, or if you meet Italian people at home as well, you try and practice, and often they reply to you in English. Sometimes it's because they want to practice their English, but often it's because they want to help you, and they think that you want them to speak in English to you. So this becomes a problem because, of course, then you get less chance to practice. So we need to learn some strategies to help us get around communication breakdowns so that we can practice our Italian more. So possibly the most important one would be if you don't understand something, instead of just, so if you hear something and you don't understand it, you have two options. The first option is to just start speaking in English, and then your chance to practice Italian disappears. Or the second one is you can say in Italian, sorry, I didn't understand. And then they'll repeat it. So then you get the opportunity to practice your listening again. So let's start with sorry. Can you remember the quick sorry?
Scusi.
Okay, so we start with scusi, and then the whole sentence to say I didn't understand is
Scusi, non ho capito.
great. And notice, did you hear when Matteo said that then, that the H is silent? So the Italians don't pronounce the H in ho
No,
capito.
for us it's just a letter that means no sound. That's why we don't pronounce H in English.
Yeah. So do you mean, yeah, when Italians are speaking English, they often leave out the H? Yes, I have the same. We have the same thing in the north of England. Actually, often we leave out the H's on things. So, but yeah. So when we're saying non ho capito, there's no H, so we get ho capito. Now let's look at managing communication breakdowns. So we've got our scusi non ho capito. There are a few other words that are going to really help us to keep speaking in Italian. So we've got can you repeat, which is another important one. This one really shows them, I don't want you to start speaking in English to me. I'd like you to repeat what you said in Italian so that I can listen again. So you can say, può ripetere. Then
Può ripetere?
Great. Yeah, so we get this può ripetere, which is very important. Get them to repeat in Italian and not English. And then we have another two sentences which are really important for keeping the conversation going, because if you don't know a word, that's another chance when you think, oh, okay, I don't know the word, so I'll start speaking in English. But if we know how to ask questions about words in Italian, then that's going to help us to keep the conversation going. So we can start with, how do you say something in Italian? So let's imagine you're thinking of the English word, but you don't know how to say it in Italian. You can just ask the person you're speaking to. So you could say, for example, come si dice bank in Italiano? So do you want to say that for us, Matteo, so we can hear you?
Of course. So it would be, come si dice bank in Italiano?
Okay, and this one is really useful, and it's going to serve you from the beginning right through to more advanced levels of Italian. It's great at the beginning as well, because if you, for example, if you're speaking to barmen or waiters, you can actually build up a rapport with people if they know that you're learning Italian, and you can just point at things, you know, so you can point at the glass and say, come si dice, and then you point and then say in Italiano, and then they'll give you the word in Italian. So you're getting more opportunities to keep learning. Similarly, with our next phrase, we've got, what does mean? So if you hear a word that they say, but you don't know what it means, or for example, this is great in a restaurant if you have a menu and you see this word and you don't know what it means, then you can just point and you can say, what does it mean? So we have, do you want to say this for us, Matteo?
Of course. Che cosa vuol dire bagno? In this case, bagno. Or if you use something like from the menu, we can say maybe che cosa vuol dire carne? That is meat.
Great. So let's practice. So, Matteo, do you want to ask some of these questions?
Come si dice park in italiano?
And come si dice?
Parco.
Great. Next question.
Come si dice supermarket?
Come si dice?
Supermercato. Poi, come si dice computer in italiano? I mean, I guess with my pronounce probably the same.
It's a little different. I think you get more of an Italian pronunciation when you say it in Italian. So, come si dice?
Computer. E come si dice you're welcome in italiano? Prego.
Great. And what about the next one? So now we've got, how do you say? Oh, sorry, no, we just did that. So come si dice is how do you say? And then in this part, we've got, what does this mean? What does this word in Italian mean?
So now you can answer.
Okay.
Che cosa vuol dire banca?
And I can say this one. So vuol dire bank.
Right. Che cosa vuol dire museo?
Vuol dire museum.
Perfetto. Che cosa vuol dire bagno?
Vuol dire toilet, which is our word of the day. Woo!
Yay.
So, and now the most important thing, how to stop getting Englished. So when you have your Italian phrases ready, you go into a coffee shop or a restaurant and you're all ready to practice, and then people just start speaking to you in English. Often, if you just tell them that you're learning Italian, they're actually really pleased to help you practice. They're pleased that you want to learn their language, and they're happy to speak to you a little bit. So how do you say, can we speak in Italian?
Possiamo parlare in italiano?
Great. And now the next one. So we've got, I'm learning Italian. How do you say that?
Sto imparando l'italiano.
Brilliant. So that is it for our free lesson today. We're going to send you a workbook with the slides and extra exercises so you can practice using what we learned in today's lesson. As we know, practice makes perfect. And if you'd like to learn more about what we covered in today's lesson, you can listen to some of our 5-minute Italian episodes which cover similar topics. So the first one, why Italian is easier than you think. If you listen to 5-minute Italian episode 1, then you will hear, we have an episode about how you can convert some English words into their Italian cousins and some of the rules that you can use. Then the next one, in episode 2, we talked about how to order a coffee and how to avoid some common mistakes that tourists often make. And we are so pleased that you came to our lesson today. We'd love you to continue learning with us.
Thank you.
There's 2 different ways that you can continue learning with us. The first one is our Survival Italian course. So we're working hard now on a new video course for beginners. And now that you're in our Italian club, we'll let you know as soon as it's ready. So in a lesson today, there's only so much that you can cover. In our Survival Italian course, we want to deal with most of the most common situations that you'll have when you're traveling around Italy, or even if you're you're meeting Italian people in your hometown, and you want to manage different situations and have little chats to people. So we're going to be working on giving you the Italian that you'll need to do that. And we'll let you know as soon as it's ready. And in the meantime, you can listen to our 5-minute Italian series. So we'll be sending you these slides, and the links are in these slides. So you can go to this slide and click on the link to go to 5-minute Italian. The links will also be in the PDF that we're sending you in the workbook. So thank you for learning with us today. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen now so we can say hello.
Hello.
Hi, can you see me?
I can see you.
Awesome. I can see you now too. Hi.
Hello.
Okay. So yeah, a big thank you again. We really appreciate your support. So thank you for signing up to the lesson. And we hope to see you in the next lesson. Grazie.
Bye. Ciao
Alla
a tutti.
prossima. Ciao.